Defense wins championships. That's what I've been told over the years. This applies to all the big sports: baseball, basketball, football, hockey, etc. So if that's the case, should defensive specialists be awarded with more than just their defensive accolades? Should they be considered for a place in their respective Hall of Fame? I think so, it's only fair. Though it brings the question, at what point does a player's offensive ability weigh down their Hall of Fame case? In spite of that question, some great defensive players have become Hall of Famers over the years. However, most of the best defenders in baseball history had the offensive production to back up their Hall of Fame resume. Players like Ivan Rodriguez and Derek Jeter. This brings us to Ozzie Smith, who is arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. He became a Hall of Famer on his first ballot, receiving 91.7% of the votes casted. He wasn't a great offensive force by any means, though it was his incredible defensive ability that ultimately got him in. This leads us to Andruw Jones, one of the greatest defensive center fielders of all time. 2020 was his third year on the Hall of Fame ballot, where he received only 19.4% of the votes casted. Today I want to take a quick glimpse into Jones' career and compare him with current and projected Hall of Famers, and answer the question, should Andruw Jones be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Let's take a glance at Jones' career and his accolades. Jones' career lasted 17 seasons, though his best seasons were in Atlanta from 1996 to 2007. This period is where Jones earned all of his accolades and made a name for himself in the league. During his time in Atlanta, Jones was part of a team that won 14 straight division championships. He earned 10 Gold Gloves, 5 All-Star appearances, and a Silver Slugger Award in a season where he led the league with 51 home runs. He was a cornerstone of the Atlanta Braves franchise during those years, as well as his teammates Chipper Jones, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and John Smoltz. Just how good was Andruw Jones during these years? According to Fangraphs, between the years of 1998 and 2007, the years where Jones earned all of his accolades, he ranked third in the league in WAR. And when you compare his offensive stats to the names around him, it's no question that his defense is what got him among the league's elite. That must mean that he was an incredible defender. Well, there's only one way to verify that statement.
Hit to deep right center field. Andruw Jones. Oh, good night. What a great. That's why that man's a Gold Glover.
To center, Andruw turns tail, still going. At the wall, up the wall. He made the catch.
Left center. Can Andruw catch up with it? A diving catch ends the game.
Caminetti hits one in the air. Deep center field again. Andruw Jones back again to the hill, and this time he has it.
Well, that clears it. He was an incredible defender. If that wasn't enough, Jones won 10 Gold Glove awards in his career. In fact, Willie Mays told Andruw Jones that Jones might be the best center fielder he's ever seen play. Jones is one of only 16 players to have won more than 10 Gold Glove awards. 11 of them are Hall of Famers. Of the 5 players that aren't in the Hall of Fame, 2 of them are on the ballot, one of them is Ichiro Suzuki, and 2 of them didn't make the Hall of Fame. One of the players, Keith Hernandez, actually had a compelling case when just looking at his baseball reference page. Interestingly, he never got more than 10.8% of the votes. I might have to make a video on him one day. Maybe he can earn his way to the Hall of Fame through the Veterans Committee. However, we can't ignore Jones' offensive accomplishments. By age 30, to go along with the 10 Gold Glove awards, he hit 368 home runs and drove in 1,117 RBIs. In the entire history of baseball, only 8 players have hit more than 368 home runs through their age 30 seasons. Here are those names, and that's a nice list to be a part of. The point is that Jones is part of some elite company when you look at the accolades and stats he put up during the prime years of his career. Though there is a reason why Jones is not a surefire Hall of Famer. Let's just look at the last third of his career. How you leave a sport can leave a lasting impression that overshadows one's accolades they earned earlier in their career. That's the case with Jones. He essentially made a complete 180 in terms of production. On December 5th, 2007, Jones agreed to a 2-year deal with the LA Dodgers worth $36.2 million, leaving the Atlanta Braves after a 12-season stint with the team. After showing up out of shape and over 20 pounds overweight, he continued his struggles from the 2007 season, hitting below 200 for most of the 2008 season. Jones was released after 1 year with the Dodgers, and it just got worse over the last 4 years of his MLB career. After the 2012 season, Jones signed with a Japanese team on a 1-year deal worth $300 million. 300 million yen, which was worth about $3.5 million. He stayed with the team until after the 2014 season, where he would not play for another professional baseball team, despite 2 attempts at making a comeback. He officially retired in February of 2016, and that's the career of Andruw Jones. In the first 2/3 of his career, he was one of the best defensive center fielders in MLB history. In the last third, he was a shell of his former self. His regression hit, and it hit hard. Now, what do we take away from this? Should Hall of Fame voters discount his final 5 MLB seasons in favor of his incredible defensive prowess from the prime of his career? How does Jones' career differ from similar players? Let's take a look. On the 2020 Hall of Fame ballot, there was another notable defensive specialist, Omar Vizquel. Just like Jones, 2020 was Vizquel's 3rd year on the ballot, except Vizquel finished with 52.6% of the votes casted. Let's look at their Hall of Fame metrics. JAWS is a metric used as a way to measure a player's Hall of Fame worthiness by comparing him to the players at his position who are already in the Hall of Fame. The stated goal of this statistic is to improve the Hall of Fame standards, or at least maintain them rather than erode them. In terms of this metric, Jones has a much better case than Vizquel, especially when you factor in WAR. So how different are the careers of these 2 players? Well, Vizquel's career lasted 24 seasons and spanned 3 different decades, while Jones's career lasted 17 seasons. Now let's look at their career stat lines. While they are defensive specialists, we've established that offensive production is still an essential part of your Hall of Fame resume. Comparing the stat lines, Vizquel may have a better batting average, but his OPS plus and WRC plus is pretty bad, while Jones is above average. Now let's take a look at the defensive side. Vizquel ranks 9th all time in defensive WAR, while Jones ranks 22nd. Remember, these guys played arguably the 2 toughest positions on the field, and played those positions at an elite level. Though Vizquel did it for a longer period of time. He stayed in the MLB for 24 seasons, and there's a reason why. Vizquel stayed in the league for so long because of his defensive ability. He didn't experience such a drastic decline in production like Jones did, where he basically became unplayable, not only offensively, but defensively. Like I said earlier, how you end your career can overshadow what you accomplished during your prime. And I think that's what's happening here. Vizquel never really had a sharp decline, or at least not like Jones. He was still a productive player near the age of 40. These graphics really tell the whole story. That is such an extreme contrast of production. I completely understand the voters' reluctance to vote Jones into the Hall of Fame. If we're going to mention current Hall of Fame cases, we might as well look at some past ones. Kenny Lofton and Jim Edmonds were both great center fielders in their time. However, both players would be kicked off the ballot after not receiving 5% of the votes needed to stay on the ballot. Let's compare these players with Jones. This chart displays, in order, the best jaw rankings of center fielders throughout history. So what this shows, apart from Mike Trout once again proving his dominance, Jones, Lofton, and Edmonds are on the cusp of being Hall of Famers. So what is the average JAWS rating for a Hall of Fame center fielder? That number is 58. Now, let's look at the JAWS ratings for these 3 players. They don't quite reach the standards set by this JAWS metric. Now, let's look at WAR. The average WAR for a Hall of Fame center fielder is 71.3. Again, these guys don't quite reach that. Apart from these stats, each player has their own reasoning as to why they haven't made the Hall of Fame. Lofton had some great career stats, but he was lacking in the accolades department, and he comes nowhere near Jones in terms of defensive WAR. Edmonds had some great offensive seasons and some remarkable defensive highlights, but ultimately, injuries cost him a chance into the Hall of Fame. As for Jones, he fell off a steep cliff at the age of 31, and he never recovered. Ultimately, longevity is a characteristic that the Hall of Fame committee takes very seriously. A reason why we may never see Jones voted into the Hall of Fame. Although, I won't remove the possibility of him being voted in by the Veterans Committee, like Harold Baines and Lee Smith. So, should Andruw Jones be in the Hall of Fame? Well, it's a tough decision. On his current trajectory, he won't get anywhere near the 75% necessary to reach the Hall of Fame. So in terms of the amount of votes he's getting, I think he's being underappreciated for what he accomplished, despite those accomplishments taking place within a shorter period of time than a lot of Hall of Famers. I would like to see Andruw Jones in the Hall of Fame, though I'm not sure if he should be in the Hall of Fame, just because of how drastic his career would eventually turn. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you didn't know, I recently had a video uploaded on Stark Raving Sports. If you haven't seen it, I would appreciate if you checked it out. Also, if you came to this channel from that video, I appreciate you sticking around. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.